Welcome to the Educator Preparation Report Card and Annual Reports Data Collection webinar. My name is Catherine McElden. I'm the Deputy Director for Research for the State Board of Education, and I'm joined by Shay Olmstead, Director of Licensure and Operations for the Office of Educator Licensure and Preparation at the Tennessee Department of Education. We will go through this webinar today with all of our participants muted, and at the end of the presentation we will have a question and answer session where we'll ask participants to type in their questions for us to share. Everyone will be muted on entry, but during that Q&A at the end, please, in preparation for that, please jot down your questions so we can address them once we wrap up. Any questions that are in depth or may be specific to the provider, to be respectful of everyone's time, we'll suggest one-on-one communication with you or someone at your EPP and one of the reports team members. For our agenda today, first we'll provide a general overview of the educator preparation reports. We'll then walk through the data collection timeline and resources and guidance documents we'll provide to support you and your team in this process. We'll also highlight some important changes for 2019, then go through the data collection process and data elements in a little more detail. We'll then walk you through the data submission process, which this year will be conducted through TNAtlas, and then open it up for a question and answer session. Now to the annual reports and report card overview. The Educator Preparation Reports encapsulate a series of 2 reports created by our respective agencies. First is the State Board of Education Educator Preparation Report Card. In 2007, the Tennessee General Assembly passed legislation requiring the publication of a report on key metrics for educator preparation providers throughout the state. Several aspects of the report card are required by that legislation, including indicators on placement and retention rates, scores on licensure exams, and teacher effect data based on Tennessee Value-Added System scores or TVAs. The State Board was charged with executing this report requirement in 2016. Prior to that, it was produced by THEC. Now, it also includes other key priority areas for the State Board. Importantly, this is a public-facing report intended for a wide variety of audiences, including not just education preparation providers, but also district-level leaders, prospective teacher candidates, and other state-level policymakers. The primary goal of the report card is to highlight EPPs who are excelling in the board's key priority areas.
The department first released the annual reports in 2016. The first form of the annual reports was the Insights tool, and later in 2017, in the second iteration, we released the Performance Report alongside the Insights tool. The annual reports are EPP facing, whereas the State Board's report card is public facing. The purpose of the annual reports is really twofold. It's to support EPPs in continuous improvement efforts and to serve as an accountability tool for ongoing provider approval.
Now for a little more detail on the State Board's report card. This presents data on the key priority areas for preparing educators for Tennessee as determined by the State Board members. First is recruiting a strong, diverse candidate set to teach in the areas of greatest need, employment in Tennessee public schools, and strong teaching performance and effectively supporting our students' learning. Underlying each of these 3 priority areas are specific metrics that go into the scoring framework for each EPP. You'll note many are scored and some are purely informational at this time, including third-year retention, employment within 3 years, and overall level of effectiveness. Combining all this data, we produce performance categories scores for all of our state's ed prep providers and provide a performance category from 1 to 4, 4 being the strongest, on each domain as well as overall. This is now the 3rd iteration of the report card in this design, and this current year we are undergoing a design refresh. This is a step back moment where we are gathering feedback from various stakeholder groups, in particular trying to draw out input from new stakeholder groups, including prospective teacher candidates, district HR professionals, school and district level leaders, as well as continuing to elicit the feedback of our EPP partners and other state level leaders. Through this design refresh, many of the metrics will stay the same. However, we may shift the landing page layout to make it more accessible to our target user groups and shift some of the metrics slightly to be more in line with the annual reports, as well as perhaps shifting some of the scoring framework to be more in line with best practices, what our research partners have to say, and our state priority areas.
The annual reports are comprised of two parts. First, the performance report provides EPPs, the state, and comprehensive review teams with data to inform the approval decisions, both at the time of the comprehensive review, which only occurs every 7 years, as well as to inform decisions to conduct an interim review between the 7-year cycles in the event that a provider is consistently falling below expectations. The performance report highlights key metrics that have been identified for accountability purposes, and it's intended to identify if a provider meets expectations at the metric, domain, and overall levels using specific thresholds. Next, we have the Insights tool. The Insights tool provides EPPs with detailed information to support continuous improvement. It allows the user to investigate and interact with multiple metrics across various domains and cohort years. It provides actionable data, both current and historic, at the EPP level, specialty area program cluster, and at the SAP level. So it allows also for disaggregation by other program design characteristics such as clinical type or program type, and potentially in the future could include other program design characteristics as those data become available.
The Educator Preparation Reports creation timeline for this next year is as follows. This summer, we are working with you all to gather, verify, and validate all the data we need to create these reports for the 2017-18 cohort. We are passing our data to you all this week, early May. Then have 2 months to go through and gather that additional data that we request on your end at your EPP. Pass that back to us by July 3rd, 2019. Through the rest of the summer, through July and August, our EdPrep reports team will be working with you all going through our data quality assurance processes. During that time, we will likely reach out to your team for clarification, verification, and answering any last questions we might have. By September 1, 2019, we will have a finalized data set for the 2017-18 cohort. From then, as we move into the fall, we will then add in the data sets from the 2 prior years' cohorts. This is the data that was already used in last year's set of reports that has already been validated, verified for accuracy. So we will simply take those, merge them in with this new year's data set for our new 3-year cohort data set. We will then work to bring in other state level data such as evaluation and employment. During that time, engage in a really thoughtful metrics and alignment refinement process, thinking about how can we really tighten these up, perhaps have a discussion with aligning these metrics to be more similar between the 2 reports. And of course, engaging in our rigorous data quality assurance processes. We will then have a final combined data set for both reports complete by around Thanksgiving of 2019. From then through the rest of the winter, we will then split and create our own separate, versions of the metrics from that one underlying data set to populate the State Board Report Card and the Department of Education annual reports. We will then release those reports in spring 2020. Now we've given you a high-level overview. Let's get into a little more detail about this summer's data collection process. To populate the data set for our 2017-2018 program completers cohorts, we exported data entered by the provider when enrolling candidates or making licensure recommendations from the TNCompass system. We've taken that, packaged it up for you all, and we'll deliver that to you all through a TNCompass announcement by May 10th, 2019. You will then have 2 months to work with your teams to verify the data that is already populated and add in the additional data metrics that we request. Once you have done that, you will submit that back to us through TNAtlas by 5 p.m. on Wednesday, July 3rd. We will then work with you throughout the rest of the summer to verify, clarify, and finalize these data sets for a fully final data set by September 1. To support you in the data collection process, we've provided several resources for you all. First is this webinar. Second is a guidelines and data dictionary that has detailed guidance. We also shared with you an informational data template so you can understand what shape your data will arrive to you by May 10th. Also, we've provided a verification form, and finally, we'll get you the actual data set itself. All of these resources will be available under the announcement section of the TNCompass landing page on May 10th. The Guidelines and Data Dictionary resource provides detailed guidance on our data collection process, cohort member business rules, and very specific data entry guidelines. The data template that you already received is for informational purposes only. A populated program cohort data set in this format will be delivered by May 10th. Here, though, do please note that there are 3 tabs: the Provider tab, the Cohort Members Final tab, and the Cohort Members Draft tab. The data quality verification form signifies that the data you submit on July 3rd is complete, accurate, and thoroughly reviewed. This must be printed out and signed by hand by your EPP head administrator, be it a dean, director, or executive director. This form also acknowledges that the data submission is considered final, no further changes can be made. Also, that the cohort members from the 2 prior cohorts have been verified last year and are also considered final. This also acknowledges that the TDOE and SBE Ed Prep Reports team may contact your institution over the summer for further data validation as needed through July and August. This also must be submitted through TNAtlas on July 3rd. Finally, and most importantly, is the 2017-18 program cohort dataset itself. This will be accessible via a targeted TNCompass announcement to EPP head administrators and data leads by May 10th, 2019. This contains secure information and must only be transferred via a secure process, which is why we are utilizing TNCompass and TNAtlas. This dataset should not be shared via email. We will always use a secure channel when communicating with you all, and we would advise you all to do the same for your internal processes. By and large, our reports will be the same for 2019 as they were for the last year. However, there are a few important things to draw your attention to. Please note that files containing personally identifiable information should never be sent via email. Always use a secure channel when communicating with the TDOE and SBE, also with yourselves internally. Unlike last year, OwnCloud will no longer be used for data collection and dissemination. We are switching over to TNAtlas and TNCompass. We are only using those channels for our data dissemination. However, we are aware that a few of our EPP partners do not have access to these systems, and if so, please contact us at educator.preparation@tn.gov, and we would be happy to either provide access to these systems for you or secure an alternative secure channel. Also this year, new teacher candidates with occupational licenses will be included for this data verification process, so do be aware of that. This summer will be the only opportunity to verify 2017 and 18 cohort member data for accuracy and completeness. Previously, the State Board conducted a courtesy review in January prior to the report card release. The Board has discontinued this practice. All data must be verified for accuracy this summer, and once submitted and gone through the July-August verification process with the TDOE State Board team, is considered final and no further changes will be made. Also, the prior 2 years cohorts are also considered final, as we went through a rigorous data verification process in years past. And a data verification form with a hand-inked signature from the EPP head administrator must also be submitted. Now that you have an overview of the process, let's get into the details about the data collection process and data elements themselves. Your first step as the EPP partner should be to gather all the resources that we've provided for you through TN Compass. This includes the data guide and dictionary, the informational data template, the data quality verification form, and the 2017-18 program cohort dataset that is, of course, specific to your EPP.
Now, this might look familiar to some of you from last year's data collection. You'll be accessing the 2017-18 program cohort dataset for your EPP via your TN Compass account. After May 10th, you can log into your TN Compass account and you'll find a message on the landing page similar to as it's displayed here, with links to the resource files which were also sent out via email, as well as the Excel file that's unique to your EPP and includes your EPP's 2017-18 program cohort dataset. And so you'll just click on the link next to the little person icon under the message header on the left-hand side, and you'll be able to download that file.
Your second step in the data collection process is to verify or complete the 2017-18 program cohort dataset. Here, of course, there are multiple tabs. The first one being the Provider tab, which provides information about you as the EPP provider. Here, we'll have some data elements pre-populated for you to verify and some for you to add. Those for you to verify include the institution code, head administrator name and title, and your program website. This year, we are additionally looking to share out actual links to your program admissions webpage, also your program course catalog website if you have that, and we are looking to explore other potential demographic variables. So here, please describe any information you systematically collect for all your candidates that you believe would be valuable to include in the Ed Prep reports. In particular, we are interested in exploring other types of diversity and demographic factors, such as first-generation college students, socioeconomic status, and the like. When you move to the Cohort Members tab, please note that a record should be validated for each person completing degree and non-degree educator or instructional leader preparation programs. So therefore, you should have a record for each of your program candidates who completed a teacher, occupational teacher, or instructional leader program, or enrolled in a post-baccalaureate job-embedded teacher preparation program, and was recommended for licensure between September 1st, 2017 and August 31st, 2018. We identify cohort members as anyone who's recommended for license during this time span. For the most part, this will include individuals who complete a program, but for job embedded, these candidates are included at the point of enrollment into the program. So in other words, for your more traditional candidates, we will be looking to their program completion date to be within this window, And for your job-embedded candidates, we will be looking to the program enrollment date in this window. You will then go on to verify or complete information for your 2017-18 program cohort dataset about specifically your cohort members. Please be attentive if anyone is missing from the record. If so, please submit appropriate information for that cohort member and include a reason why they should be included in the notes column. Conversely, if there is a member listed who should be removed from the record, please indicate that also along with the reason in the notes column. Do not delete the record. The Ed Prep Reports team will look at all of this closely, likely reach out to you for further clarification, and make all final inclusion decisions in alignment with our reporting business rules. As you are working to verify or complete the 2017-18 program cohort dataset, please note that there are two different tabs for you to work in: the Cohort Members Final tab and the Cohort Members Draft tab. The Draft tab is a workspace for you to organize your data elements before creating the final version. The Finals tab has data encoding and validation protections to ensure all data is in the correct format. Specific formatting requirements can be found in the Guidelines and Data Dictionary document. Also note that some data elements are only applicable to certain cohort members and will be labeled as such. All elements are required unless otherwise noted as optional, and all data elements must be in the Final tab upon submission. Here is a list of the data elements about your cohort members that are pre-populated for your verification. A few areas to call out, also noting that there is detailed information on each of these in the Guidelines and Data Dictionary packet. The first is endorsement area. These reflect the areas of endorsement that the cohort member was recommended for at time of initial licensure, excluding endorsements earned through assessment only. So please verify that that is indeed the case for all your cohort members. Also note that educator enrollment status. If a cohort member is no longer affiliated, they will be shown in your dataset for verification. However, they will be removed before rolling into our reports. If the enrollment status is incorrect, please include the correct enrollment status along with a brief explanation in the notes column. The TDOE team will then follow up with you to ensure this correction is rolled over into the TNCompass system. These are the data elements to be added by you and your team about your program completers. First is information about their clinical mentors. The next set is about their GPAs. Note that this is slightly different than last year's GPA requirements, and these may be different between baccalaureate and post-baccalaureate candidates. For baccalaureate candidates, please indicate their GPA at time of program enrollment and their cumulative undergrad GPA upon graduation. For post-baccalaureate candidates, either their cumulative GPA for undergraduate upon graduation or their GPA for the last 60 hours prior to EPP program enrollment is required. This is in line with State Board Policy 5.504, Tennessee Educator Preparation Policy V3B. We then move on to admissions assessment scores here. ACT, SRE, SAT, GRE, various praxis scores. Here also we're asking you to indicate if this candidate was admitted upon appeal. Lastly, we have the notes column, which is where you're going to indicate any potential changes to the data set for that particular candidate. Please list this as well as a brief description of the issue here. For guidance on the data elements, please refer to the Guidelines and Data Dictionary document. Let me walk you through an example of the level of detail we'll have for you here. So for example, for GPA upon EPP program enrollment for baccalaureate candidates, we have a brief description of that data element, provide several examples, and then some notes about who it's required for, what the kind of data bounds for entry will be and how it must be formatted. In this case, it must be higher than 100 and lower than 400 and must be 3 characters. So do be attentive to the detailed guidance in this document. Data elements must be in the specified format as detailed in the data guide and dictionary. To support you in that, we've also built in data validation into the actual data set itself. So the Cohort Members Final tab will have data validation protections written into it with that guidance there of how many digits, what the value must be between, to help ensure data quality here. This is where the Draft tab can be particularly helpful for you as you are compiling this information with your team. There are no data validation settings here, so you can do all the formatting you need to do on that tab before transferring it to the Final tab. Again, refer to that Guidelines and Data Dictionary for more details. As you've gone through that detailed process, please review the pre-populated fields for accuracy and completeness. Populate incomplete required data fields with the information for candidates included in the file we shared from you that we extracted from TNCompass. And add in candidates that were not in that TNCompass data pool that you believe should be in there, and complete all associated required data fields along with a brief explanation as to why they should be included. Once you have your data compiled, verified, and 100% accurate to the best of your ability, we'll then ask you to submit that back to us here at State Board and CDOE through TNAtlas. Once you have your verified data set and your signed verification form, please upload both of these documents to TNAtlas by 5 p.m. Central on Wednesday, July 3rd, 2019. Again, if you do not have access to the TNAtlas system, contact us at educator.preparation@tn.gov to arrange an alternative, secure, non-email transfer method.
To submit your data file and your verification form, you'll navigate to tnatlas.gov and log in using your individual credentials. And once you're logged in the first row of tabs in that top navigation, you should see a tab labeled Review and an option under Review called My EPP Reviews. Select My EPP Reviews. You'll see that My EPP Reviews will take you to the Pending Reviews screen. And the rightmost tab under Pending Reviews will be a tab labeled Other. This is a tab where the department will deploy simple data collections outside of the comprehensive or SAP review, such as the primary partnership agreement collection that we did recently if you participated in that process, and such as this one, the data collection for report cards and annual reports. So when you click on Other, you should see a review called Educator Preparation Reports Data Collection 2019. That's the big blue box on the left. And you'll click that in order to navigate to the file upload screen. Once inside the review, you'll be able to access 2 prompts. One for the program cohort dataset, which is where you'll attach your completed Excel data file with all your cohort data, and a second prompt for you to upload the verification form. The verification form needs to be uploaded as a PDF after it's been printed out, completed, and signed in ink by your EPP's head administrator. We won't accept e-signatures or digital signatures. This needs to be an inked signature by hand. Once it's been signed, please ensure that it's scanned, no photos, and uploaded here as a PDF. Once both files are uploaded, you'll see that the Submit button will no longer be grayed out like it is here, and you'll need to click the Agreement box and click the Submit button to submit your 2 files. This summer, there will be a data review, and EPP submitted data will be reviewed by the department and the state board for the production of the 2 sets of EPP reports. and either the department or the state board team members will communicate with EPPs regarding any specific questions or gaps in data that need to be addressed by that individual EPP. Finalized data files will be used to create the report card and annual reports.
Once we have that 2017-18 cohort dataset finalized by the end of August, we will then work through the fall and winter to add in those 2 prior cohort years to the dataset, build in other state-level data systems, including evaluation, employment, and others, work on our metrics and refine our alignment between our 2 reports, all the while engaging in highly rigorous data quality assurance processes, and work to have a final combined data set for both reports before we break for Thanksgiving 2019. We will then work to create our individual reports and release them in spring 2020. We are now going to open it up for questions in just a moment. Please allow us to pause to enable that functionality.